Hello everyone, I'm Nick Greco. I'm here with my co-host Jill Pastor. In the news today, we are talking about a topic that has taken the world by storm over the past 10 years, and that is social media. Social media has enabled people to post content about themselves online, as well as letting people create visual profiles about themselves. So, how bad could it really be? Could social media become our second reality?
Well, Nick, you recently sat down for an interview with psychology professor here at Sacred University, Professor Pavone, and nursing student Josh.
Yes, and we discussed social media's effects on mental health.
Let's take a look.
Social media as we know it today has formed a new digital world for millions and millions of people to dive into. It offers people the ability to stay connected with friends and family while at the same time letting you create an online profile of yourself for the world to see. While social media may be seen as this great new tool for people of all ages, does it seem too good to be true? Medical professionals have gone back and forth in regards to this debate on the issue of social media, but they may have just found the answer to this daunting question. I recently sat down with Sacred Heart University nursing student Josh Bellucci and psychology professor Shirley Pavone, who has a doctorate in applied psychology and has worked for the state of Connecticut's Department of Mental Health and Addictions. We talked about social media's influence on the human psyche, and Professor Pavone had this to say.
But it's a process that takes a little time. You kind of ease into this social media kind of thing, and it gets interesting. And then it gets addictive. As we move into this new century of communication, it's such a different world.
Yeah.
And the process becomes not only that I want to be connected, but I must be connected.
Yeah.
That's kind of frightening in a way.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
That suggests that heavy social media use has links to low self-esteem, depression, and anxiety. So, given your specific expertise, and Josh, you can answer this as well, what types of characteristics and personality traits do we start to lose when we start to spend hours upon hours looking at social media?
I think the first thing that's very obvious is that we'd rather text than talk. There's very little face-to-face communication anymore. And I think that given the ease with which you can communicate through social media, it becomes easier to just become more introverted and express yourself online rather than sitting down across a table and talking to one another. So the characteristics of depression are, oh, I'm not as good as so-and-so, or I'm not as strong as. Anxieties, how am I going to get through this? You know, I can't do things the way that other people are doing them. Look at how they are doing. And that process, the comparisons of one person to a group of other people tends to add to the depressive quality. I can see that this sense of I have to be liked. I have to be admired. And if they're not feeling that, it leads to some significant depression.
There is a negative side of it, but I don't think that's social media's inherent fault. I think it's the imbalance, and there are negative sides depending on how it's used.
All of these marvelous advances in technology, they're tools. And we control tools. We can't let the tools control us.
I think Professor Pavone makes a point that we should all take a step back and look at how much we use social media.
Quite an interesting interview. It makes me think that maybe we should all take a step back and really think about how much social media is interconnected with our lives.
Yes, for every plus, there can be a minus. Social media can connect us or divide us.
Thanks, Nick.
Jill, you spoke to Jocelyn Novella, a counselor at the Wellness Center, for more information on the issue that is affecting millions worldwide.
I did, and it was quite informative. You want to take a look?
Hello, everybody. My name is Jillian Pastor, and recently I sat down with Jocelyn Novella, a counselor here at Sacred Heart University, and we talked about cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is a hard topic to talk about with some people because it affects everyone, and it's not something to take lightly. So I recently asked Jocelyn if she thought there was a connection between social media and cyberbullying, and here's what she had to say.
I think it's pretty obvious that it does. If we look at the sort of beginning of social media, it does tend to correlate with the increase in suicide rates due to cyberbullying, especially amongst young women. And so I think that social media allows you access to large groups of people. And so if an individual feels shamed or harassed or embarrassed, it's no longer just by a few people at the school, you know, during lunch period or whatever. It goes out and it becomes like everybody that they know and more is aware of whatever it is that happened. And so I think that access to the public that social media brings has really increased the rate of cyberbullying, and then obviously, you know, unfortunately, suicide rates and mental health concerns related to it.
So social media basically gives the people that would never bully in person a type of power to like basically bully someone because they don't have the interaction or the consequences that they see.
Exactly. I think that that's what social media brings to the table, and that's the piece that we need to really start working on, because truthfully, I think if those people had an idea of consequences, and this is why there's so many awareness campaigns about cyberbullying, if you're aware of the impact of what you're doing, you're more likely to think about it and not be impulsive about it. But sometimes, you know, if let's say there's a breakup or something and I'm really mad at that other person and I'm just going to put out some pictures that I know are private or inappropriate, it's that anger, you do it impulsively, it's so easy to do, just push a button, and then you're not really seeing what's happening to the person on the other end.
Yeah, because like before social media was ever around, people would never be able to do this type of thing where they send those types of pictures or those types of mean messages online for everybody to see. But now that it's so available to everybody, especially like elementary, middle school, and high school kids, that they do it more often.
Right. Exactly.
So the last question for right now.
Yes.
In your opinion, what do you think would put the biggest stop to cyberbullying?
I think having immediate consequences, and not just from the point of view of police and adults, but from peers. Immediate consequences from peers that puts out the word that this is not okay with us. So having peer groups that basically their goal is to stand up against bullying, and these exist. They are really starting to form. There's a great government resource called stopbullying.gov that has a whole section on cyberbullying. And the goal is to get peers engaged in this. And so you see it when you're walking down the hall, do something about it. Okay. Step in, say something. You see it on your phone, do something about it. I think that's the goal.
Okay, so just basically to not be a bystander, just actually take action.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
My name is Jill Passiter. I'm once again here with Jocelyn Novella. This is Media Matrix, and thank you for watching.
Quite a compelling story. Now, moving on to cyber attacks. Is your private information as secure as you want it to be? What if someone gets a hold of your information? What do? One of our reporters, Chris DeChico, interviewed Stephen Wrinkle of Sacred Heart University's Cybersecurity Department in regards to the growing issue.
I'm here with Stephen Wrinkle from IT Networking, and today we are going to talk about cyber attacks.
My responsibility here is to provide a reliable, secure, and fast network connection to students, faculty, and staff. Part of that is that I need to make sure that it's going to be secure for our students, and we can do that either over our wireless networks or our wired networks.
At colleges, IT policies in place so that students as well as college interests are protected. Can you briefly discuss SHU's IT policy?
Our IT policy here is primarily focused on security, which we're trying to secure our assets here at university. Our assets could be our property, our information, and our people. So we put IT security policies in place to prevent attacks for data mining, trying to get into our data servers, and also trying to keep possible information that's private to our students and to our faculty secure.
What are the definitions of vulnerable threats and risks, and how it pertains to the internet?
Well, there's threats and there's vulnerabilities. And to put this into terms of just thinking about your home, a vulnerability is something like your window's unlocked and somebody can get in, and your threat is that person that's going to try to get into your house. Put that in terms of security of internet networks, it's very similar, where a vulnerability could be your software on your computer has some gaps that somebody can manipulate to get into your computer, put some malware, some spyware on there, and that vulnerability can also be a person too, somebody that they can manipulate to click a link that maybe they shouldn't, put in their username and password. And then when we're talking about threats, those are the people that are trying to exploit those vulnerabilities.
So why is social media a hunting ground for cyber criminals?
Simply because on social media there's a lot of information, a lot of personal information. People go online and will post all this information, what they're doing in their day, what bands they're interested in, what sports teams they like, if they're planning a vacation. People are putting all this personal information online that once you put it up there, it's up there for good. And somebody can go take a look at it and use that information to manipulate and to try to focus in an attack on something that you're already interested in on. So here's a link to a ticket to your favorite concert. It might not really be a real link, and in that case you click that link and then you're going to get caught with a bug on your computer, some sort of software, or again, it may spam you to put in your username and password, and then it's all, you've already given up your information there. And using social media for that, instead of, traditionally it's been done by email, where you'll get an email of some sort of, click this link, you'll get something free. That, in this case, is now getting targeted a little more sophisticated through social media platforms because we have more information about the people that we're trying to attack in that case from a hacker's point of view.
I definitely learned a lot today, and I appreciate you coming out. My name is Chris DeChico, and I'm here today at Media Matrix with Steve Wrinkle.
So, as you can see, no one's information is truly safe on the internet. It really is crazy to see how far some individuals go to get a hold of someone else's personal information. Well, that is it for us today here at Media Matrix. I'm Nick Greco.
And I'm Jill Pastor.
Have a good night, everyone.